The Galactic Council's emergency session on Zalarian erupted into chaos as Council leader Zax Thor unveiled the impossible. Humans thrived on Earth, a planet classified as an uninhabitable deathworld by Lemnorian standards. The revelation sent shockwaves through the Assembly, challenging centuries of established galactic knowledge. Zax Thor's voice boomed across the circular chamber. "Esteemed colleagues, our assumptions about habitable worlds have been shattered. Observe." A holographic display materialized, showing Carl Cook, an Earth environmental scientist, working in conditions that should have been lethal. The council members watched in stunned silence as Carl traversed scorching deserts, scaled frigid mountain peaks, and waded through humid jungles. Each environment, by their metrics, should have killed him instantly. Yet there he was, not just surviving, but thriving. Panic rippled through the gathering. An Arcturian representative, his tentacles quivering, demanded immediate action. "We must eliminate this threat before it spreads." Others echoed the sentiment, fear of the unknown driving their reactions. Amidst the growing hysteria, a lone voice cut through the clamor. Sirius, a junior Lemnorian diplomat, stood tall despite his youth. "Esteemed Council, we face not a threat, but an opportunity. These humans exhibit adaptability beyond our comprehension. We must study them, learn from them." His words sparked heated debate. The council chamber divided, with some calling for extermination, while others cautiously supported further investigation. Hours of intense discussion followed, strategies proposed and discarded, until finally a compromise emerged. The council reluctantly agreed to dispatch a covert observation team to Earth, led by Sirius himself. Their mission, to gather crucial data on human physiology and societal structure without detection. As the Lemnorian ship entered Earth's atmosphere, its advanced cloaking technology barely managing to conceal the craft's presence, Carl Cook stood in a rocky mountain valley, frowning at his instruments. Atmospheric readings showed inexplicable disturbances, consistent with theoretical models of cloaked spacecraft. Unaware of the alien observers, Carl began a meticulous investigation. He hiked treacherous terrain, braved extreme weather, and collected data tirelessly. Each step he took amazed the hidden Lemnorians, their life support systems straining under Earth's oppressive gravity and atmosphere. Sirius and his team established a hidden base high in the mountains, struggling to comprehend how humans functioned in such harsh conditions. They marveled at Carl's fieldwork, his resilience in the face of what they considered unsurvivable extremes. As days passed, Carl's research led him closer to the Lemnorian base. The aliens' advanced technology, despite its camouflage, left subtle traces in the environment. Carl's scientific curiosity, the very trait that so fascinated the Lemnorians, now threatened to expose their presence. Recognizing the alien nature of the anomalies he detected, Carl attempted to make contact. His approach triggered the base's security systems, sending alarms blaring through the Lemnorian facility. Sirius, caught between protocol and curiosity, initiated emergency procedures to protect their mission and identities. Light years away, the Galactic Council monitored the unfolding situation with mounting concern. The humans' potential, once theoretical, now posed a tangible challenge to their galactic order. Debates raged anew. Should they recall the observation team or take more drastic action? As Lemnorian pursuit drones deployed, Carl raced down the mountainside, his mind racing faster than his feet. He had to alert global authorities about the alien presence, but first he needed to evade capture. The stage was set for a confrontation that would test the limits of human ingenuity against advanced alien technology, with the fate of Earth hanging in the balance. Carl's heart pounded as he raced down the mountainside, his legs shaking from the encounter with alien technology. He knew he had to alert the authorities, but as he reached civilization and made his first attempts to contact government agencies, he hit an unexpected wall of skepticism. "Sir, we appreciate your concern, but without concrete evidence, we can't act on claims of extraterrestrial activity," a stern-faced FBI agent told him via video call. Similar responses came from NASA, the Air Force, and even his own university's administration. Carl's frustration mounted with each dismissal. He paced his small apartment, running his hands through his disheveled hair, Fine, he muttered, his eyebrows furrowed. If they won't believe me, I'll get the proof myself. The next day, Carl loaded his SUV with advanced sensing equipment from his environmental research lab. Spectrometers, electromagnetic field detectors, and high-resolution cameras filled the vehicle. As he drove back towards the Rocky Mountains, his mind raced with possibilities. Meanwhile, high in the mountain peaks, Sirius and his Lemnorian team huddled around their monitoring stations. The loss of contact with Carl had sent ripples of concern through the group. "We must intensify our efforts," Sirius declared, his large eyes reflecting the glow of holographic displays. "Deploy the microdrones. We need more data on this human's capabilities." Dozens of tiny drones, no larger than Earth insects, swarmed out from the hidden base. They scattered across the rugged landscape, their advanced sensors focused on locating Carl. As Carl hiked through a narrow ravine, he remained oblivious to the artificial insects buzzing around him. The drones monitored his vital signs, recording his steady heartbeat and efficient oxygen usage as he navigated the challenging terrain. Back at the Lemnorian base, Sirius watched the incoming data with growing amazement. "Look at how he adapts to the changing altitude and temperature," he marveled to his team. "His physiology is remarkable." Unbeknownst to Sirius and his team, a storm was brewing both on Earth and in the stars above. As dark clouds gathered over the Rocky Mountains, a sleek, predatory spacecraft pierced Earth's atmosphere. Captain Zorn stood on the bridge, his face set in iron will. "Cloak engaged, weapons primed," his second-in-command reported. Zorn nodded. "Locate the observation team. We'll deal with them first, then move on to the humans." As thunder rolled across the mountains, Carl pressed on. The storm's interference played havoc with his equipment, creating a static buzz in his headphones. Suddenly, a glint of metal caught his eye. Nestled in a crevice was a small, distinctly non-terrestrial object. Carl's breath caught in his throat as he carefully extracted the device. It was one of the Lemnorian microdrones, its delicate wings damaged by the rocky terrain. "Gotcha," he whispered, carefully stowing the drone in his pack. The capture of the drone sent alarms blaring through the Lemnorian base. Sirius's team scrambled to assess the situation. "We've lost contact with Drone Unit 7, a technician reported, panic edging into his voice. Sirius's mind raced. "Prepare for immediate evacuation. We can't risk further exposure." But as the Lemnorians rushed to dismantle their equipment, a new alert sounded. A massive energy signature appeared on their scanners, descending rapidly from orbit. Aboard his ship, Captain Zorn sneered as he detected the observation team's base. "Prepare to dock," he ordered. "It's time we took control of this situation." As Zorn's ship settled onto a nearby plateau, Carl was making his way back to civilization, the captured drone secure in his pack. He pulled out his satellite phone, ready to make another attempt at convincing the authorities. This time, his call was answered with urgency. "Mr. Cook," a gruff voice responded, "we've detected anomalous aircraft in your vicinity. Stay where you are. A response team is en route." Carl's eyes widened as he saw fighter jets streak across the sky, heading towards the mountains he had just left. The roar of their engines mixed with the rumble of thunder, creating an ominous symphony. Back at the Lemnorian base, Sirius found himself face-to-face with Captain Zorn. The militaristic Lemnorian towered over Sirius, his eyes cold and calculating. "Hand over your data and step aside," Zorn demanded. "The Council has authorized me to handle this situation." Sirius stood his ground. "We have no such orders. Our mandate is clear. Observation only. We will not participate in any military action against the humans." As the two Lemnorian factions argued, their sensors detected the approaching human fighter jets. The situation was rapidly spiraling out of control. Carl, driven by an impulse he couldn't quite explain, began making his way back up the mountain. He knew the terrain, the hidden caves and narrow passes that crisscrossed the area. As he climbed, he could see the sleek forms of the alien ships in the distance, illuminated by flashes of lightning. Zorn, furious at Sirius's defiance, prepared to use force. "If you won't comply, you'll be treated as sympathizers to these primitive beings," he snarled, signaling his troops to take aim. Sirius, realizing the gravity of the situation, made a split-second decision. He activated the base's communication array, broadcasting on all frequencies. "Human named Carl Cook," he spoke, his voice trembling slightly. "If you can hear this, we need your help. The fate of both our peoples may depend on it." As fighter jets screamed overhead and alien ships hummed with building energy, Carl emerged from a hidden path. He stood on a rocky outcrop, directly between the human and alien forces. In one hand, he held the captured drone. In the other, his satellite phone, still connected to Earth's military command. For a moment, everything seemed to pause. The jets held their position, missiles primed but unfired. Zorn's troops kept their weapons trained on Sirius's team, fingers hovering over triggers. And Carl, a single human at the center of it all, took a deep breath. In that fragile moment of stillness, the next move would determine the course of human-alien relations. As all eyes turned to Carl, the weight of two civilizations' futures rested on his shoulders. In that moment of stillness, Carl made his decision. He took a step forward, placing himself squarely between the human fighter jets and the alien spacecraft. The tension in the air was palpable, like electricity crackling through the storm-filled sky. Carl's heart pounded in his chest, but his hands remained steady as he reached into his pack. With swift practiced movements, Carl began assembling a makeshift communication device. He connected components from the captured Lemnorian drone to his own equipment, creating a hybrid of human and alien technology. As he worked, he could feel the weight of countless eyes upon him, human pilots in their cockpits, alien observers behind their advanced scanners, and perhaps even distant galactic powers watching from afar. Inside the Lemnorian base, Sirius watched Carl's actions with a mixture of fascination and hope. The human's ingenuity sparked an idea in the young diplomat's mind. With a determined set to his jaw, Sirius turned to his team. "Override security protocols on our main communication array," he ordered, his voice firm despite the gravity of his decision. His subordinates exchanged worried glances but complied, their fingers dancing over holographic interfaces. Warnings flashed across their screens, but Sirius paid them no heed. He focused all his attention on establishing a link with Carl's jury-rigged device. Outside, Carl held his breath as he activated his creation. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then a series of lights blinked to life, and a low hum emanated from the device. Carl's eyes widened as alien characters scrolled across his screen, rapidly translating into English. "Human Carl Cook," the message read. "This is Sirius of the Lemnorian Observation Team. We seek peaceful communication." Carl's fingers flew over his satellite phone, relaying the situation to the human military command. "Hold your fire," he urged, his voice tense but controlled. "We have established contact. I repeat, hold your fire and allow for diplomatic talks." High above the mountaintop confrontation, Captain Zorn seethed with frustration. The delay in his assault plan threatened to unravel everything. With a snarl, he turned to his communication officer. "Establish a direct link to the Galactic Council," he barked. "I'll take control of this situation myself." But as the officer initiated the transmission, an unexpected face appeared on the main view screen. Council leader Zaxthor's stern visage filled the bridge, causing Zorn's crew to shrink back in surprise. "Captain Zorn," Zaxthor's voice boomed through the ship, "your unauthorized military action is in direct violation of Council protocols. You are hereby stripped of your command and ordered to stand down immediately." Zorn's face contorted with rage, but he knew better than to argue with the Council leader. He stepped back, allowing his second-in-command to take control of the ship. Meanwhile, on Earth, the news of alien contact spread like wildfire. Emergency broadcasts interrupted regular programming worldwide, and social media exploded with speculation and fear. In New York, the United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session, diplomats from every nation rushing to coordinate a global response. Back at the confrontation site, Sirius made a decision that would alter the course of history. He turned to his team, his large eyes reflecting the gravity of the moment. "I'm going out there," he announced, moving towards the airlock. His crew protested vehemently, citing the dangers of Earth's environment, But Sirius was resolute. He input the override codes and stepped into the airlock, watching as the door slid open to reveal the rugged Earth landscape. The moment Sirius set foot on Earth's surface, he felt the crushing weight of the planet's gravity. His breath came in short gasps as he struggled to process the oxygen-rich air. Yet through sheer force of will, he remained standing, taking one laborious step after another towards Carl. Carl watched in awe as the alien figure approached. Sirius's body was clearly not designed for Earth's conditions, but the grit in his multifaceted eyes was unmistakable. Steeling himself, Carl began to walk towards Sirius, closing the gap between their two species. They met on a small plateau, the wind whipping around them as the storm continued to rage. For a moment, they simply stared at each other, taking in the sheer alienness of their counterpart. Then slowly, Carl raised his hand in a universal gesture of peace. Sirius, understanding the intent, if not the specific cultural significance, mimicked the gesture. Carl's improvised communication device crackled to life, translating Sirius's words into halting English. "We come, peace," the translation stuttered. "Learn from humans." Carl nodded, speaking slowly and clearly into his device. "We welcome peaceful contact. There is much we can learn from each other." As they continued their rudimentary conversation, the human military leaders watched in stunned silence. After a brief consultation, they issued new orders. Maintain defensive positions, but stand down from offensive readiness. Similarly, the Lemnorian observation team powered down their weapon systems, following Sirius's example of peaceful interaction. Above them, the ship once commanded by Zorn began to ascend, retreating to a higher orbit to await further instructions from the Galactic Council. News of this peaceful first contact spread rapidly, shifting the global mood from fear to cautious optimism. In universities and research centers around the world, scientists and linguists scrambled to develop more effective methods of communication with the Lemnorians. Government agencies began drafting preliminary protocols for diplomatic relations with an alien civilization. In the chambers of the Galactic Council, the peaceful interaction orchestrated by Sirius and Carl sparked intense debate. Many council members saw this as an opportunity for unprecedented cultural exchange and cooperation. However, a vocal minority, led by the disgraced Drakthar, continued to argue for a more aggressive approach, warning of the potential threat humans could pose to galactic stability. As the council's debate raged on, Zaxthor sat in quiet contemplation. The events unfolding on Earth had opened up possibilities he had never before considered. Slowly, a plan began to form in his mind. A bold, potentially galaxy-altering plan. Rising to his feet, Zaxthor addressed the council, his voice cutting through the clamor of debate. "Esteemed colleagues," he began, "I propose we take an unprecedented step. Let us invite a human delegation, led by this Carl Cook, to address our council directly. Let them make their case for recognition and potential membership in our interstellar community." A hush fell over the council chamber as the implications of Zaxthor's proposal sank in. Then all at once the room erupted into a cacophony of voices, some crying out in support, others in vehement opposition. Back on Earth, oblivious to the galactic-scale discussions his actions had sparked, Carl continued his halting conversation with Sirius. As the storm began to clear, the first rays of sunlight broke through the clouds, illuminating the human and the alien standing together on the mountaintop. It was a new dawn, not just for the day, but for the future of human-alien relations. As Carl looked out over the vast expanse of his home planet, he felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. Whatever came next, he knew that humanity's first steps into the larger universe had already been taken, and there was no going back. Back. The significance of this moment was not lost on Carl as he turned to face Sirius, their unlikely alliance a beacon of hope for both their species. Over the following weeks, Carl's life transformed into a whirlwind of activity. Earth's governments, setting aside their differences in the face of this unprecedented situation, formed a united front to prepare for humanity's introduction to the galactic stage. Carl found himself at the center of this preparation, undergoing intensive training to represent his species before the Galactic Council. Each day brought new challenges. Carl spent hours poring over holographic displays of Lemnorian customs, his brow furrowed in concentration as he committed alien etiquette to memory. Sirius, ever present, guided him through the intricacies of interstellar diplomacy. "Remember," Sirius explained, his translator device conveying his words in crisp English, "the Zaxalor greeting is crucial. Tilt your head precisely 37 degrees to the left while extending your right hand, palm up." Carl practiced the motion, his muscles straining to achieve the exact angle. "Like this?" Sirius's multifaceted eyes glimmered with approval. "Excellent. You're adapting quickly for a species so new to galactic society." As Carl honed his diplomatic skills, a team of Earth's finest minds assembled around him. Dr. Elena Rossi, a brilliant xenobiologist, pored over data on Lemnorian physiology. Commander Jamal Khoury, a decorated military strategist, analyzed potential security scenarios. Ambassador Lin Chen drafted proposals for cultural exchange programs. Their base of operations hummed with activity, screens flickering with alien text and holographic star maps. The air buzzed with a mixture of excitement and apprehension as humanity prepared to take its first steps onto the cosmic stage. Millions of light years away, the chambers of the Galactic Council were far from serene. Council member Drakthar, his scales dripping with hardly restrained fury, paced before a group of like-minded allies. "These humans," he hissed, his translator struggling to convey the venom in his voice, "are a plague waiting to spread across our galaxy. Their adaptability, their resilience, these are not virtues, but threats to the very fabric of our society." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the gathered counselors. Drakthar's eyes narrowed as he continued, "We must take action. The diplomatic mission must not succeed." As Drakthar's faction plotted in the shadows, the day of departure arrived on Earth. Carl stood before the modified Lemnorian spacecraft, its sleek form gleaming in the morning sun. The ship's organic curves and pulsing biolights stood in stark contrast to the angular human structures surrounding it. Carl took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He turned to face the assembled crowd, a mix of government officials, scientists, and a select group of press representatives. "Today," he began, his voice steady despite the butterflies in his stomach, "we embark on humanity's greatest journey, not just across space, but across the boundaries of species and cultures. We go not as conquerors or supplicants, but as equals, ready to take our place in the galactic community." Applause erupted as Carl and his team boarded the ship. The interior was a marvel of alien engineering, with pulsing organic walls and control interfaces that responded to thought as much as touch. As the airlock sealed behind them, Carl felt a momentary pang of claustrophobia, quickly replaced by a surge of excitement. The journey to Zalarian was a test of both technology and biology. The ship's life support systems strained to accommodate human physiology, requiring constant adjustments. Carl and his team experienced bouts of nausea and disorientation as their bodies struggled to adapt to the alien environment. During a particularly rough patch of turbulence in the phase space corridor, Carl found himself in the ship's observation deck. The view outside was a kaleidoscope of impossible colors as they hurtled through space-time. Sirius joined him, his alien features unreadable. "Your species continues to surprise me, Carl," Sirius said. "Most beings would be incapacitated by such a journey, yet you and your team persist." Carl managed a weak smile. "We're used to adapting to extreme environments on Earth. From scorching deserts to freezing tundras, we've learned to thrive where others might falter." Sirius tilted his head, a gesture Carl had come to recognize as thoughtful consideration. "Perhaps that adaptability is indeed your greatest strength. It may serve you well in the challenges to come." As they neared Zalarian, the ship's sensors detected the planet's unique atmosphere. Warnings flashed across the control interfaces, indicating potential risk to human physiology. Dr. Rossi worked tirelessly, synthesizing compounds to help the team acclimate. The ship breached Zalarian's atmosphere, descending through layers of iridescent clouds. As they touched down on the alien world, Carl steeled himself for the unknown challenges ahead. The airlock hissed open, and he took his first breath of Zalarian's air. The effect was immediate. Carl's lungs burned, his vision swam, and his legs trembled. Around him, several team members fell to their knees, gasping. But Carl, drawing on some deep reserve of strength, remained standing. He took another breath, then another, each one less painful than the last. Lemnorian scientists, observing from behind protective barriers, chittered in amazement. Carl's rapid adaptation to the alien atmosphere was unprecedented. As he helped his struggling teammates to their feet, he couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. Humanity's ability to endure and adapt, honed over millennia on Earth, was proving to be their greatest asset in this new frontier. Unbeknownst to Carl and his team, their arrival had not gone unnoticed by Drakthar's agents. As the human delegation was escorted to their quarters, shadowy figures moved in their wake, planting false information and sabotaging communication devices. Carl, his senses heightened by the alien environment, felt a nagging sense of unease. Something about their surroundings felt off, reminiscent of the subtle wrongness he'd experienced before major weather events back on Earth. He began to investigate, his eyes scanning every corner of their alien lodgings. As night fell on Zalarian, casting the alien landscape in an eerie bioluminescent glow, Carl prepared for the most important speech of his life, and perhaps the most crucial moment in human history. The fate of Earth's place in the galactic community hung in the balance, with forces both seen and unseen working to influence the outcome. In the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council, tensions simmered beneath a veneer of diplomatic civility. Council leader Zax Thor, his imposing form draped in his ceremonial robes, addressed the gathered representatives of countless alien civilizations. Esteemed colleagues, Zax Thor's voice boomed, we stand at a crossroads of galactic history. The question before us is not just whether to admit humans into our community, but whether we are ready to embrace the challenges and opportunities their inclusion may bring. As Zax Thor spoke, Carl and his team made their final preparations. The weight of their responsibility was palpable, each member acutely aware that their actions in the coming hours could shape the future of human-alien relations for generations to come. Come! As Carl prepared to address the Galactic Council, an urgent message flashed across the communication screens. The planet's atmospheric monitoring systems had detected an imminent threat. A massive solar flare was hurtling towards Zalarian, its intensity far beyond anything the planet's standard defenses could handle. Panic rippled through the assembly as the news spread. Council members argued frantically, their translators struggling to keep up with the cacophony of alien languages. In the chaos, Carl's eyes met Sirius's, and a spark of understanding passed between them. We can help, Carl said, his voice cutting through the din. The room fell silent, all eyes turning to the human. On Earth, we've developed technologies to predict and mitigate the effects of solar events. With your permission, I believe we can work together to protect Zalarian. Zax Thor, his expression unreadable, considered Carl's words. After a tense moment, he nodded. Very well, human. Show us what you can do. With that, Carl sprang into action. He quickly assembled a mixed team of humans and Lemnorians, their diverse skills complementing each other perfectly. As they raced to the planet's shield generator facility, Carl's mind whirred with possibilities, drawing parallels between Zalarian's defenses and Earth's power grids and atmospheric regulators. The facility was a marvel of alien engineering, a massive structure pulsing with energy that made the hair on Carl's arm stand on end. As they entered, the severity of the situation became clear. Lemnorian technicians worked frantically at control panels, their movements betraying their growing desperation. Carl assessed the situation rapidly, his eyes darting from one alien display to another. We need to reroute power from non-essential systems to the shields, he announced, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. And we'll need to recalibrate the shield harmonics to better deflect the incoming solar radiation. The team sprang into action, human and Lemnorian, working side by side. Carl directed the human members to manually adjust coolant flows, their bodies better suited to withstand the rising temperatures. The Lemnorian engineers, following Carl's guidance, began recalibrating the shield harmonics. As the first waves of the solar flare hit, the facility shuddered. Alarms blared, their alien tones grating on Carl's ears. Several Lemnorian team members collapsed, overwhelmed by the stress and rising heat. But the humans pushed on, their bodies conditioned by Earth's varied climates to endure extreme conditions. Carl moved from station to station, his shirt soaked with sweat, making rapid adjustments as the shields fluctuated under the solar onslaught. The air crackled with ozone and tension, each passing second bringing Zalarian closer to potential devastation. Suddenly, a key power coupling overloaded, showering the area with sparks. Without hesitation, Carl plunged his hands into the sparking machinery. Pain seared through his body as he used himself as a conductor to maintain the circuit. The human's incredible pain tolerance and quick thinking saved the entire system from collapse. The Lemnorian observers watched in stunned silence as Carl, teeth gritted against the pain, held the circuit together. One of the alien engineers quickly rerouted the power, allowing Carl to finally release his grip. His hands were burned and blistered, but the shields held. As the solar flare reached its peak, the reinforced shields shimmered and strained, but remained intact. The combined efforts of humans and Lemnorians had saved Zalarian from certain destruction. The planet erupted in celebration as news of their salvation spread. In the shield generator facility, exhausted team members embraced, their differences forgotten in the face of their shared triumph. Carl, his hands bandaged by a Lemnorian medic, stood before a holographic display of Zalarian. The planet's shields glowed softly, a testament to what they had accomplished together. Sirius approached, his alien features arranged in what Carl had come to recognize as an expression of awe. "Your species continues to amaze me, Carl," Sirius said. "Your ability to adapt, to push through pain and adversity, it's unlike anything we've seen before." Carl managed a tired smile. "It's just what we do. On Earth, we've always had to be ready for anything. From natural disasters to climate extremes, we've learned to face challenges head on." As they spoke, a message came through from the Galactic Council. They were reconvening to discuss the recent events and their implications for humanity's place in the galactic community. Carl and his team made their way back to the council chambers, the corridors buzzing with excited chatter. As they entered, Carl noticed a shift in the atmosphere. The earlier hostility and skepticism had been replaced by something new: respect. Council leader Zax Thor called the session to order, his voice carrying a hint of admiration as he addressed the assembly. "Esteemed colleagues, we have witnessed something extraordinary today. In our hour of need, these humans demonstrated courage, ingenuity, and a capacity for cooperation that we would be foolish to ignore." Even Drakthar, who had so vehemently opposed human inclusion, seemed subdued. His earlier arguments crumbled in the face of humanity's undeniable contribution to Zalarian survival. Zax Thor continued, "I call for a vote on humanity's admission to the galactic community. Let us consider not just what they might gain from us, but what unique strengths they bring to our table." The chamber fell silent as the votes were tallied. Carl held his breath, acutely aware of the weight of this moment. Finally, Zax Thor announced the results. With an overwhelming majority, the council had approved Earth's membership. In a historic ceremony, Carl stepped forward to sign the Treaty of Alliance on behalf of Earth. As he shook hands with Zax Thor and Sirius, holographic displays around the chamber showcased images of Earth's diverse environments, from scorching deserts to frozen tundras, highlighting the source of humanity's remarkable adaptability. As the ceremony concluded, Carl found himself on a balcony overlooking a Zalarian's capital city. The alien landscape stretched out before him, bathed in the light of twin setting suns. Sirius joined him, and together they gazed out at the future they had helped create. "What's next for humanity?" Sirius asked, his multifaceted eyes reflecting the alien sunset. Carl considered the question, his mind racing with possibilities. "We have so much to learn from each other," he said. "Joint scientific missions, cultural exchanges. This is just the beginning." As they spoke, Carl received a transmission from Earth. It was an update on global climate initiatives, inspired by the recent events in space. Humanity, now aware of its unique place in the cosmos, had begun applying its adaptive skills to heal and protect its home planet. Carl smiled, realizing that in reaching for the stars, humanity had also found a new appreciation for its own world. The challenges ahead were many, but as he looked out over the alien city, he felt a surge of optimism. Humanity's journey among the stars was just beginning, and the possibilities were as endless as the cosmos itself.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.